Hello there, this is Deborah Pratt Johnson Burns. I'm the founder of Literacy to Legacy Mentors, Reframing Your Financial Future, personal finance, education, and mentoring company. Today, my guest is my friend and colleague, Fred Bellacci. He is a 20-year trust and estate attorney in the state of Florida. And today we're going to talk about planning for a worry-free retirement. Fred has been counseling clients for 20 plus years on a number of strategies and tips and tricks that he has given to his clients along the way. And they're not only successfully retired, but very happily retired. So please listen carefully. He has a lot to share with us today. So thank you so much for joining us, Fred.
Well, pleasure to be here, Deborah, and hello, everyone. Always a thrill, and happy to provide some of my winning strategies, tips, and tricks to help you plan for your worry-free retirement.
Absolutely. So let's start a little bit sort of at the beginning. What are you recommending as sort of like the top 10 tips, if you will? So sort of what's number one? What are you recommending people do to start thinking about this, no matter what age, right?
What age? I mean, first thing is you got to have a plan. I mean, if you don't have a retirement account set up or have any sort of financial plan as far as what your assets and your income is and your needs are, you want to sit down as soon as possible and at least put this on paper. Put all your expenses on a spreadsheet. Your must-haves, I mean, your required expenses, your things like your mortgage and your car payment, insurance premium, stuff like that. And then your discretionary stuff. I mean, your travel, your food, things that you don't have to do or have to do the way that you might like to do, things that could be adjusted. Your fixed costs and your variables.
Exactly.
So putting it out on paper really helps people to see exactly where their money is going, what it's being used to, and then to look for ways that we can clean it up a little bit, maybe spend a little bit less. So we look at what our income is, what's coming in, and what's going out. And the best way to do this is to actually sit down with a financial planner, somebody with experience that can help you and advise you as far as what the best strategy is.
Absolutely. And someone's given us a sign that is the best thing you could possibly do as a planner for your worry-free retirement. So that's fantastic. I also wanted to point out that the whole concept of putting together like a budget or a spending plan is not always a very common one. But as you say, Fred, it is the most important thing to do. When you write it down, it becomes real, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like with trying to lose weight. I work with people in that too. It's like establishing a calorie budget. It's like same exact thing. I mean, nobody wants to hear the words diet or budget. It sounds restrictive and limiting, but we need to know what we have to play with and how we can best play with what we've got and put that money to work for us down the road. So that way we don't have to worry. It's just like, do something today, I tell my clients, that your future self will thank you for.
One of my favorites. Absolutely.
Just sitting down, going over everything. Statistic is 71% of Americans admit that they need improvement with their financial plan, which is a scary number.
It is a very scary number.
And only 29% of Americans even have a financial advisor. So
that's even scarier.
I was astounded by the numbers, but I mean, working in the legal field and financial for years with people, I mean, most people I deal with have some idea, but majority admit that they could use some fine tuning. And that's why we're here today. We're here to come up with some winning strategies and tips, just tidbits that you can take to the bank.
Exactly.
Things that you can see, ask yourself, am I doing this? Talk to your financial person if you have one. If you don't, go and talk to several, ask around, ask your colleagues. I mean, you want to emulate the habits and behaviors of successful people. So ask somebody who's successful, who's in the business, who's doing well, who's obviously doing well. Who do you talk to? What do you do? Who do you use? And, most people are more than happy to share, especially if they have a good experience or rapport with somebody. So definitely.
Exactly.
I mean, people don't want to talk about money, but these kinds of things you have to talk about. I mean, in your household, with your family, your spouse, your kids. I mean, get this stuff out on paper, have a discussion, have a roundtable, and have a plan. The sooner you plan, the more successful you will be as far as your retirement strategy, because just the simple principle of compounding interest.
Exactly.
I mean, starting 5 years earlier or giving just 1% more per quarter to your retirement account up to the amount that you're able to contribute has a huge effect over the course of years.
It does. It absolutely
does. A lot
of
things, have a plan, and the sooner you start, the better. And plans should be flexible and should be reviewed periodically with the professionals. So those are the two top tips going in. I mean, have a plan and plan early. The sooner you can do it, the better.
Exactly. So I can tell you next 2 weeks from today, I'm going to be sharing with everyone how to put together a transformational spending plan, which for other people is called a budget, but I don't like the word. And I can actually help you to set up all of those spreadsheets or Word documents, whatever it is, to actually write down, here's exactly what I have that are hard costs, here are my soft costs, here are my discretionaries. And then you can take that document, I actually tee it up for the financial planners and the attorneys and the investment managers for that matter. So please join us in 2 weeks for that topic as well. What do you, absolutely, what do you suggest in terms of like for young people and people who are sort of trying to get to retirement maybe a little sooner than usual, the whole FIRE movement? Should they be doing something with their 401k or their IRA or their Roth, like annuities? What are you recommending in terms of, or suggesting in terms of what they should do with their retirement plans per se?
Well, you want to take advantage of any and all retirement plans that are available to you, depending on your income level and what it is you do, how you earn your money. So if you have a 401k, which is a matching plan, where up to a certain amount per year, your employer will match, you want to maximize that as much as possible. And, not everybody has the amount of money to put in,
After
income and then expenses. I mean, you need a new roof, or, you need bridge work at the dentist and it's not covered, or, your kid's doing a, semester abroad and you got to pay all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of expenses. So one of the biggest things I recommend for everybody, in COVID has taught us this, the need to have an emergency fund, minimum of 3 months and preferably 6 months to cover all your expenses, anticipated, emergency, whatever, in the event that all of a sudden your income just stopped. You lost your job, you got laid off. You want to have that amount of money as a cushion. That way you don't have like palpitations like we've been having the last 2 years for a lot of people.
For that matter, the past 6 months, I recommend to clients to actually have at least 10% of their portfolios in cash. And if they want more and they feel more confident doing that, that's fine. I think 10% is reasonable, and that can be used as a emergency fund.
So we want to take advantage of whatever retirement accounts are available, 401ks. There are things called IRAs, individual retirement accounts. There's one that's a Roth, where the benefit is it's taxable going in whatever money you contribute, but it grows tax-free and can be taken out tax-free at retirement. So it's a very popular plan, both traditional and Roths, depending on your situation. There are also individual retirement accounts for gig workers and self-employed people that could be used as well. So as many of these as you could possibly contribute to, you want to take advantage of it. And of course, the emergency fund is a great thing to have, and working with an advisor, and the sooner you get started. Historically, $500,000 grows to something like 3.4 million in 25 years working with an advisor. A mixture of, stocks, bonds, a diversified portfolio, but typically a larger amount of it being in stocks, depending on your age and your risk tolerance, which sit down and go over with your advisor. That same 500,000, if you're on your own thinking that you can do this without professional guidance, grows only to 1.69 million historically over the same 25 years. So it's roughly half as much. And I mean, in this day and age, 8.5% plus inflation, rents are up some 50%, property values, cost of housing has doubled in many markets in the country. So if you don't own, it's a really tough time. So every dollar, every penny, everything that you could possibly have on the table to work for your benefit, everything that you can do today, every decision you make today that can help you down the road, compound that interest, every dollar that you could sock away versus spend,
Right.
it's to your advantage. So
Absolutely.
a qualified person, just the numbers speak for themselves.
They absolutely do, Fred, and thank you for that. And I think for those who are self-employed, they should also look into a SEP IRA, which is
Yes.
a self-employed IRA. And frankly, you could save a significant amount of money in that, depending on the amount of money you make. So those are options for self-employed people, as well as the Roth, which actually is quite a big new type of IRA, more popular meaning than it ever has been before because of the tax-free properties of it. Could we talk a little bit about Social Security? I know a lot of people think, oh, I don't really need to plan for retirement. I'll have Social Security. Well, guess what? When 2000, I think it's 34 comes around, we may depleted, and we may only be getting, no matter who we are and what time we retire, only 85% of what we socked away, because the fund doesn't have, or the trust fund doesn't have it available to us to take from. So what are your thoughts on Social Security, Fred?
Well, I tell people all the time, do not rely on it. I mean, unless you're already of the age that you're collecting it now and you know what you're getting. I mean, let's just say you're getting the maximum, a couple $1,000s a month. You're taking advantage of that and you're collecting it today. Your buying power was reduced on average by 8.5% for that same amount of money. Like, their cost of living adjustments are nowhere near that. So this is money that I tell people today, like, I'm in my 40s. I tell people in my age group or younger, you don't even want to think it's there. It's may not be there. I don't want to frighten people, but you've got to plan for your own Social Security and not count on the government to do it for you, especially with the rate of inflation, and they keep raising the age as far as when you're able to take it. I figure by the time, if I'm able to get it, I might be 99 years old, and it'll probably be so little money, I might not be able to buy more than a bag of pretzels.
Exactly right. No, I understand completely.
You want to be worry-free. And I know Social Security is something that people, I mean, my grandparents' generation, the baby boomers, have all just relied on, taken for granted that it's there. But in the reality, the world that we live in today with inflation and everything else, and the age is going up and the amounts going down and the cost of living adjustments nowhere near making up for the tremendous spike in prices that we're seeing in everything from housing to healthcare to food to gas, whatever. I mean,
I think you don't
want to rely on it. If you get it, wonderful. Consider it a bonus. I mean, if you're fortunate enough that you're able to plan for your own retirement, let's say you're 45 like me, or in your 50s, or even better in your 20s, and you're starting to look at this stuff every year, every decade that you start sooner planning and socking away, you're going to have a lot more to play with when you want to be able to play. Nobody wants to be stuck at home depending on Social Security for their lifestyle. And I know a lot of seniors today who are stuck with Social Security, and their standard of living is going down and down. And what are they doing? They're cutting their pills in half. They're not going out to eat. I mean, they're sharing a quart of milk. I mean, they're walking everywhere. People hate to give up their independence in their cars, and it's just like they're taking the bus because of the expenses. What they were getting for $2,000 a month 5 years ago, they're not getting anywhere near as much today. So if you don't have to depend on Social Security, pretend it's not even going to happen. You want to take care of yourself as best as you can. And that's why planning early, taking advantage of all these different retirement accounts that are available. Also, there's a health savings account that you can set up and contribute a certain amount of money every year, tax-free, to grow tax-free, to be used for qualified healthcare expenses. With healthcare being so expensive, and Social Security, Medicare being uncertain at best, and costs of everything, the more that you can have set away that you don't have to worry about, that is going to be there for you should you need it. It takes a lot of the guesswork. It takes all these variables out of the equation. If you've got money set away, you're trying to minimize your risk.
That's
right. Try to maximize the enjoyment of your money, the ability to have the lifestyle. I mean, it's all about a standard of living. So we use something called the 80% rule in financial planning, that as far as trying to figure out how much you're going to need to retire comfortably on. So we like to tell clients, I mean, financial advisors will probably tell you this, and it's very important, just as a very basic guideline, basic rule of thumb. So if you're making $100,000 income today and you want to retire next year, you need to figure that you're going to need at least $80,000 to retire on and to keep the same standard of living. Plus, of course, whatever the inflation amount is.
Exactly.
So you've got to figure a bunch of stuff. But you want to look for as many ways to maximize income streams and ways that you can prepare for this and have money coming in once you have decided to retire. So a lot of people are doing things. I mean, seniors are doing things. They're selling stuff on Etsy. They're making things. My friend and I go to Disney a lot, and she buys mouse ears from people, making them in their homes, and about the same cost as you'd buy a Disney product that's made in China. You're actually supporting somebody, their creativity, their talent, and money is going into local communities here in the US, helping people subsidize the crazy, costly world we live in. A lot of retirees are renting out basements or spare rooms or converting like a garage into a little Airbnb and being hosts. Any way that you can possibly have additional income coming in, you want to try to do. And then, of course, with the spreadsheets and writing everything down and out, you look for ways to trim your expenses wherever possible. It's like maybe not get the new car every 2 or 3 years, maybe wait a 4th or 5th year. There are a lot of things. It's like people like me, we like our good wine. I'm a sommelier. I love to travel. I love fancy restaurants, but it's just like, I found plenty of good wines, and I talk to, people that I do lifestyle and diet food coaching and wine seminars about what you can have for $15, $20 that is just as good as a lot of the more popular names, brands, or locales that are, $40, $50 in the store. There are a lot of ways that we can still have a really good standard of living and save money. It just requires a little bit of thought, and putting it out there on paper, actually seeing where your money's going makes it really hit home.
It's totally enlightening, Fred. Thank you. I also wanted to share with people who maybe are not willing to give up the travel piece of their lifestyle. There is a really wonderful website called The Points Guy, and he shares all of the tips and tricks on how to actually maximize your credit cards that you're using for travel, and you can use points for air as well as hotels. They also have Airbnbs that are much less expensive than going to hotels. And then, not that I want to promote this specifically, but I'm a member, as I know you are, of many of the hotel kinds of discount services. There are several of them out there. So if you put a date in, for instance, and you want to travel to X city, if you do this at a shorter period of time, closer to your departure date, you could get up to 50% off your hotels. So if you still want to travel, there's a lot of ways through points and, a lot of incentive programs to really look into, because some people just will not give that up. And I understand that. To your point, you've got to look at the cheaper options. It doesn't mean they're not as good. It just means there are other ways to save money for the same thing, which that's very smart.
I'll give you an example. I always like the book. It's a classic, The Millionaire Next Door. And it's just like the family that doesn't have the shiny new car and take all the fancy trips. They may very well be the millionaire next door and have a lot of money socked away. And I know a lot of people like this that don't live lavishly, but they're the ones who are going to be able to enjoy it down the road, that they're not going to be scrimping and they're not going to be worried, that they're going to be debt free. I mean, you want to get out of credit card debt. I mean, things like, mortgages are still relatively cheap on a historical basis, but I mean, home equity, ways to pay down your credit card debt. Double-digit interest debt, you want to get rid of that. You want to clear the slate. But with like the millionaire next door, I have a client who takes a cruise every year, whatever it is, 10 days, 2 weeks, she and her husband. They've been doing it for 25 years.
Wow.
She's the millionaire next door. She's the one buys a new car every 10 years. Could afford one every 2 years.
Exactly.
Could afford a much more expensive car than she buys, but she's had a thing for 25 years. They're Diamond Plus members with multiple cruise lines, and they play with points and they have a great time and get all the perks and benefits.
Phenomenal.
Whatever else. I mean, I do it with other credit cards. I don't really cruise, but
Right.
she's had a budget of $100 per person per day for a cruise, and it's a balcony room. So $100 per person per day, wow. I mean, is dirt cheap. I mean, even 25 years ago, when she just came up with this number based on her budget back then, we only want to spend $200 a day, my husband and I, for the cruise, for the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, with the inflationary environment, I mean, she's still able to do that. Right. She might be going, you know, off season a little bit now.
There you go.
Making some sort of, you know, some sort of adjustments, like, you know, maybe not picking the busiest weeks or months of the year, the holiday times, spring break. I mean, hurricane season. I always laugh. Yeah. You're going in hurricane season. She's like, yeah, but you know, we've gone 9 out of 10 years and there's been no hurricanes. We pay a little bit for insurance on it.
Wonderful.
We're getting our $100 a day, where if we went 2 or 3 weeks later, it would be $500 per person per day for the exact same cruise.
Very true.
Try a different destination. Like they decided a couple of years ago before COVID to do a New England cruise. I mean, like Bar Harbor, Maine and Massachusetts and up to Nova Scotia. And they, you know, that they said it was absolutely beautiful. It was early fall, and repositioning cruises like transatlantic stuff, where they're basically giving you free freight back after you do a Mediterranean cruise. There's all, I mean, we're not here just to talk about money and travel. I mean, we want to have a good time. So, I mean, these are just lots of tips that if you do your homework, read up on, there's a lot of good blogs, there's a lot of good cards with points.
Yes.
I mean, that can help you have a really good lifestyle and still save money.
Well, that's the whole point, Fred. You know, my mission and vision is to actually teach people to change their mindset about money and live more prosperously in the ways in which we've discussed today, and really not have that stigma of, oh, I have to save and scrimp and whatever. You know, look at it as an opportunity. It's your ticket to freedom.
Yeah, it's freedom. Exactly. You want to be empowered. You have the ability. You can write your own ticket. I mean, with what you've got, given whatever you have, you want to maximize it. You want to look for ways to maximize what you have, to possibly bring in more, and to spend less without compromising your standard of living or your quality. You want to be able to enjoy your standard of living or a higher standard of living for many, many, many years. I mean, as long as you live. I mean, two precious commodities are time and money. And, you know, you don't want to run out of time and you don't want to run out of money. So this is why planning today is absolutely in your and your family's best interests, and it will reward you.
I think that's fabulous, Fred. And thank you so much for all of those great tips. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I know you're also an expert in real estate, you know, there are many people there now. It's really sort of a seller's market because of the interest rate increases, right? But, you know, yes, there's opportunities to get really top dollar for your places, et cetera. But keep in mind, one of the things that, one of the commodities, if you will, that increases over time and in value is real estate. So just because the market conditions may appear ripe, if you don't really need the money, don't sell your condo or your house or your whatever, because it will only increase in value over time. And I know, because I worked for a real estate magnate who owned about 8 houses. He was a financial wizard, and I worked for him for God knows 10 years. And he taught me a lot about that. And I'm sure you're seeing the same thing. You know, if you really don't need to sell that piece of property and it's not of imminent need in terms of cash flow, hold on. You know,
well, the more real estate, the more actual assets that you're able to have and maintain, and preferably if you're able to even rent them out or use like Airbnb to help you make those mortgage payments. It's the greatest vehicle towards wealth advancement in history.
It is
real estate. I mean, even more than the stock market. I mean, anybody that owns a house, you know, people that bought houses 20, 30 years ago, or many are up 300, 400, 500% in markets.
You're absolutely right.
It's an amazing amount of money. And I mean, let's just say, I mean, when you sit down and you do your spreadsheet, that, you know, your housing expense for the year is, or your budget's, you know, say $60,000, say $5,000 a month.
Sure.
So, I mean, you could pay $5,000 a month to rent the place, and at the end of the year, you're out $60,000, and maybe you had a place to live, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't,
Right.
but you've gained no equity. You've just
Right.
made somebody else rich. You're
Exactly.
helping them pay their mortgage and their expenses and plan for their retirement,
Right.
not yours. So if you're able to figure out, well, for $5,000 a month, the same 60 a year, what kind of mortgage could I qualify
Right.
for? What kind of
Exactly.
home could I own?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm able to get a mortgage, for a $500,000 house and pay that, with all the insurance, all the property, taxes, everything else out the door for even a few pennies less than that. And hopefully the goal of you're doing that, and it's got a little like in-law suite. I could rent that out. We live in a college
Absolutely.
town. We could do something like that and help pay the mortgage, help defray the costs.
That's
And
exactly right.
now, 5 years from now, that $500,000 house, you've gained equity, you've paid down the mortgage, and maybe the house is now worth $700,000, as opposed to you spent over the past 5 years, you spent $60,000 a year to rent an apartment. There's 300 grand that you don't have. You absolutely have nothing. You're out 300 grand.
Right.
Whereas opposed to you put that amount of money towards your home and your mortgage, you may have gained a couple $100,000 in equity. You have something. And at the worst case scenario, you can take that $500,000 house, even if it didn't go up a dime, and sell it and still have something.
Exactly.
That could be put to work for you. I mean, renting out the spare room. There's so much.
Exactly. I'd like to also
talk freedom.
You're absolutely right. Let's talk a little bit about, and I know I have a little more experience with this, but I know you have some because of your clients, et cetera. There's also ways for people listening in that, for me, for instance, retirement is dovetailing with paying for college. So that's a little tricky. So I can share with you, and in my own experience, strength and hope here, that we were able to get to be friendly with the financial aid department, the head of the financial aid department at the college. So that's helpful. I also have a partner on my team by the name of Jody Oken, and she's actually a college financial aid advisor, and she can help people find myriad ways, not only to get scholarship money, whether it be merit or otherwise, but also grant money and money from the government. So I want to share that so many of us want to retire at a reasonable age, but concurrently we're paying for college. So it's delaying the retirement, right? So I just want to point out, as you and I both know, it's important to start looking at getting help with those college funds. For instance, our daughter went abroad, and I thought we were reasonably ready to sort of deal with that financially. And, we really needed a little help, and that's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem asking. So I asked the college if they would have any grants or anything available for our daughter for traveling abroad and paying for additional expenses. And guess what? We applied and we got an additional several $1,000s that I didn't have to pay, that had to go. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I'm totally humble here, being totally honest. We're all in the same boat here. We have a lot of expenses as parents of children in college. I only have one. I can't even beyond imagine the people with more than one child. Dear Jesus. But yeah, there's lots of options to saving and to getting grants and scholarships, et cetera.
I'm not going to turn down free money. I mean, unless the strings attached are so onerous. It's like the 401k. If my employer wants to match the 20,000 I'm going to put in, why not put in the 20,000 if you can?
Exactly.
If you could get somebody else to help pay for college, get a grant that you don't have to pay back. Why not?
Why not? Exactly.
Why not? That gives me more money to invest, to save, to retire.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So yeah, you have to put your ego at the door. Who cares what people think? I really don't give a damn, because what's important here is that people get the savings and are able to get the monies they need for their particular issues and their families and their retirement, et cetera. And you know what? Put your ego at the door and just ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. It never does.
Absolutely. I have no problem telling people that it's not in my budget. It's not in my budget. Right. Can you do better? Right. I'm not going to pay that much.
Right.
I don't want to, or I can't, and a lot of times, even like making a hotel reservation, book directly through the property.
Very true.
ask for, I mean, Florida in the summer, all kinds of Florida resident discounts and deals on places. I mean, it's a great time to travel here, but I mean, all over the country. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't hurt to ask. And I was on with a client over the weekend. Kids went to school in DC, so in Washington. So they fortunately had the wherewithal to do this. They bought a townhouse in Georgetown.
Oh,
And the kids lived there, probably paid $1 million for it, 10, 15 years ago, sold it for something like 4 point something million.
wonderful.
Plus rented it out over the course of time. Their kids had a place to live. So, I mean, if you're able to do that, I know people going to the University of Florida here in Gainesville, a small college town in North Central Florida, buying condos or townhouses or little houses and fixing them up, letting the kids live there.
Right.
And turn around and flip them. So as opposed to paying God knows how much in rent and on top of tuition, whatever you're not able to get covered with grants or, student loans, and you're able to actually make money on their going away to college.
That's a brilliant.
Learn some responsibility of home ownership or condo ownership, let them mow the lawn. I mean,
sure.
Fix things, become handy. I mean, I wish that high schools would teach more of the home economic stuff, like how to change your own oil and how to be self-sufficient and productive.
Yeah.
Just like one morning, I owned houses for years. One morning I woke up and in Florida, it's the middle of summer. It's hotter than heck.
Right.
God, it's like the sweat's running down my head. It's like it's 85 degrees in the house. The air conditioner went out.
Oh no.
It's like, oh shit, gotta call the AC people. And it's like, it's not under warranty. And it's like, we can't get anybody out there till next Tuesday. And it's like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sweat all weekend or go pay for a hotel. And then it's just like, I talked to somebody that's handy about this stuff. And why don't you go up in the attic and check the air handler out, if that's where your air handler is. This time of year, it's very humid, like July and August, and a lot of them get algae in the pipes that drain and they freeze up. So if you can, then just shoot something down the drain line if there's a ton of water in there. So I went up there, I said, sure enough. It's like, I just saved you a couple $100.
Fantastic.
Got the thing clean myself. It's just learn how to just become handy. And I mean, that's,
there's so many ways. I mean, between Fred and I, we've made this sort of a sport.
And there's always room to do more. I mean, I got to look at my own life, and I do my spreadsheets every month. And, I like to live high on the hog. I love to travel. I love to eat out. I mean, drink good wine, buy the best. But it's just like the client I was talking about, the millionaire next door. It's like, she buys the best, but she waits for it to go on sale. I mean, places like Costco or she finds what she wants and has a number, and she's not going over it. She's going to wait for it to go on sale.
You're right. It requires it.
Like the utility room has like 20 cases of San Pellegrino. I mean, 10 cases of beer and 4 cases of wine. It's just like, it's just like, well, obviously those were BOGO somewhere at some point recently, because she knows what she wants. And she'll only buy it. Like Publix, a big supermarket chain, Florida and the Southeast, they have BOGOs every Thursday. And a lot of times there are items that you actually use. I mean, it could be like ketchup, mustard, mayo, box of pasta, yogurt. I mean, it could be pineapples. It could be anything. It could be, your favorite brand of toothpaste or dog food. I mean, Dial soap, whatever. And I look at those circulars. I sign up for all the discount email clubs. I mean,
absolutely.
Get a couple $dollars off.
Absolutely.
I could be like one of those people flipping coupons all day Sunday. I don't do that. My time is valuable. Time is money too. But if there's something really simple that you just get the alerts every Thursday from a store that I use, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go get toothpaste this week.
Exactly.
This is a good week to have strawberries. They're on BOGO. That you can have the best. Oh, that wine that I like, that's a BOGO this week. I might go get a case.
Exactly. Oh, Fred, so great. So great. Well, thank you so much for all these wonderful tips. And hopefully whoever is listening and joining us this evening, I hope you've gotten lots and lots and lots of notes. We have more to share. Absolutely. So thank you again for your time and your fabulous insights.
Anytime.
Thank
We want
you.
to make this fun. I mean, this should be fun. This
Yeah,
shouldn't be like
exactly.
burdensome. It's like losing weight. It's just like you don't want to think about what you can't eat. You want to have fun
Right.
making what you can eat as attractive and enjoyable and as tasty as possible. Just like with
Absolutely.
financial planning and budgeting, it's a strategy, it's a game, and you want to win.
Well, that's right.
Make it
That's
fun.
exactly right.
Like, oh, the budget and oh, I got to pay my bills. That's not what we're here for. We don't want to be slaves to our bills,
Not at all. Not at
creditors.
all.
We want to take back that power. We want to have fun doing it.
That's
So
right.
shopping and getting the deals and looking for ways to put your assets and your money to work for you. It's fun.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree more. And when you have a moment and you're interested in speaking with either of us, you can actually reach out to Fred. You can give us your phone number, your contact information. It would be helpful. You provide a complimentary consultation, I understand. So if you would, that'd be great.
Trusted estates needs in Florida, as well as Florida real estate, luxury properties, both coasts, Palm Beach to Miami-Dade, Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Boca Grande, Naples on the West Coast. You can reach me, my cell, 561-789-0047. Always text me, leave me a message. I do offer complimentary consultations for anybody in estate planning. And I'm also happy to talk to you about real estate needs, and always happy to chat with you about any of this stuff. I mean, the stuff that I help people with. I mean, a client came to me a couple months ago, and she's a widow. I mean, she's been a longtime client, and she's just like, my husband's gone, and I don't know who else to ask. Should I, my car's on its last leg. Should I buy a car or should I lease a car?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is, I mean, I'm happy to sit down with you. I mean, I give her the friends and family rate, but it's like, my time is valuable. I'm going to charge something for my time, but I'm happy to sit down with you and, go over the numbers. I mean, I'm not going to go car shopping with you. I mean,
Right.
you want to pay my hourly. I could go car shopping with you for the next month, but it's not the best use of anybody's time.
No.
So show me what you're looking at. And we did the math. And in her case, it was better to purchase the car than lease the car.
Right. Terrific.
Another client I did the same thing for. I'm like, I just find it flattering, the stuff that I get asked to help.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing to do with law, but it's just common sense stuff that people don't know, and people get taken advantage of so easily. I mean,
they really do.
I helped my mother with the similar situation when should she buy or lease a car, and we did the numbers for her. Leasing made more sense for her because she doesn't drive anywhere.
Right.
I mean, she's one of those like perfect little old ladies as far as you want their car at the end of the lease because it hasn't gone anywhere.
Right.
It's been in the garage. I mean, she washes it 3 times a week. That's like the shiniest, newest 3-year-old car you're ever going to see. It's got like 6,000 miles on it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So in her case, it's like, yeah, lease the car. Don't
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can contact me
with all this stuff. But yeah, call me 561-789-0047. You can also email me info@fredbalaccienterprises.com. My name, Fred Balacci. And you could also find me fredbalaccienterprises.com, as well as fredbalaccilaw.com. And
fantastic.
happy to talk to you about Florida real estate, anything.
Great. Love it.
More than welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And people can reach out to me as well on Deborah at literacytolegacymentors.net, complimentary consultation on my website. And I can review all of these topics with you and more, as Fred can, depending on what your interest and level of expertise is. I'm sure as a team, we could help you. We could help you individually. We would just love to help you because we have absolutely decades of experience of doing this ourselves successfully and helping our clients do the same. And we'd love to help you. So thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you at our future Financial Freedom Education series. I'll be speaking in 2 weeks, as I mentioned, on how to create a transformational spending plan, which is basically a budget. And I can help you really outline what your needs are and where your money should be best put to use. So thank you again. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.